close your eyes and let your mind wander to a place where reality grows thin, where the boundary between the known and unknown becomes as delicate as morning mist. Tonight, we journey to a bridge that exists in the space between worlds, a crossing that has captured imaginations for generations. You find yourself walking along an old country road as evening settles around you like a familiar blanket. The air carries the scent of wild honeysuckle and damp earth, and somewhere in the distance a train whistle echoes through the hills. Your footsteps make soft sounds against the worn asphalt, a rhythm that matches your heartbeat as you move deeper into the countryside. The road curves gently to the left, following the natural contours of the land. Ancient oak trees line both sides, their branches reaching across to form a canopy overhead. Through the gaps in the leaves, you catch glimpses of the first stars beginning to appear in the darkening sky. The evening is warm, but not uncomfortably so, with just enough of a breeze to rustle the leaves and carry the distant sounds of night birds calling to one another. As you walk, you notice how the modern world seems to fall away behind you. The last streetlight disappeared some time ago, and the sound of traffic has faded to nothing. Here, in this quiet place, time moves differently. The urgency of the day dissolves, replaced by a gentle awareness of your surroundings and the steady rhythm of your breathing. You come to a weathered wooden sign, its paint faded and peeling. In barely legible letters it reads Devil's Bridge, 2 miles. The sign tilts slightly to one side as if it has been standing guard over this lonely road for decades. Beneath the main text, someone has carved additional words with a pocket knife. Turn back while you can. But the carving is old, softened by weather and time, more curiosity than warning. The road continues to wind through the countryside, occasionally dipping into small valleys where cool air pools like water. You pass an abandoned farmhouse, its windows dark and empty but not threatening. It simply exists as part of the landscape, a reminder of lives once lived, stories once told around kitchen tables that are now covered in dust and memory. A creek runs alongside the road for a while, its water moving with the gentle persistence of centuries. The sound of water over stones creates a natural lullaby, and you find your pace slowing to match its rhythm. Fireflies begin to dance above the water, their lights blinking on and off, like tiny stars that have descended to earth for an evening stroll. The bridge appears gradually, not all at once. First, you notice the trees changing, becoming sparser and more gnarled. Then you see the stone supports emerging from the mist that has begun to gather in the low places. The Devil's Bridge reveals itself slowly, as if it wants to be sure you're committed to this encounter before showing its full form. It is not a large bridge, spanning perhaps 50 feet across a narrow gorge. The stonework is old, older than the farmhouse you passed, older than the road itself. Each stone has been carefully fitted to its neighbours, creating arches that have stood for generations without mortar or modern engineering. The craftsmanship speaks of a time when builders took pride in creating structures that would outlast their creators. You approach the bridge slowly, taking time to examine its construction. The stones are weathered smooth, their edges rounded by decades of the rain and wind. Moss grows in the cracks between them, creating patterns that shift and change in the growing darkness. The bridge seems to emerge naturally from the landscape, as if it grew there rather than being built. Standing at the foot of the bridge, you can hear water running far below. The sound echoes up from the gorge, distorted by distance and the stone walls until it becomes something between a whisper and a song. The mist rises from the water, carrying with it the scent of wet stone and wild mint that grows along the banks. The local stories about this bridge are many and varied, passed down through generations of people who lived in the surrounding hills. Some say it was built in a single night by the devil himself, in exchange for the soul of whoever first crossed it. Others claim it appears only to those who are lost, either in the physical world or in the landscape of their own hearts. You run your hand along the stone parapet as you begin to cross. The surface is surprisingly warm, as if it has been absorbing sunlight all day and is now releasing it slowly back into the night air. Each step echoes softly in the space beneath the bridge, creating a rhythm that seems to match your heartbeat. Halfway across, you pause to look down into the gorge. The mist has thickened, obscuring the water below. In the white swirls, shadows seem to move and dance, suggesting shapes that might be rocks or fallen logs, or something else entirely. The longer you watch, the more the mist seems to take on a life of its own, breathing and shifting like a living thing. The stories say that if you stand on the Devil's Bridge at midnight, you can see into other worlds. Some claim to have seen their own futures reflected in the water below. Others speak of glimpsing loved ones who have passed on, waving from the far side of the mist. A few insist they have seen the devil himself, not as a creature of flames and terror, but as a lonely figure who built this bridge as a way to connect the worlds of the living and the dead. You continue across the bridge, feeling the solid stone beneath your feet. The construction is remarkably stable, showing no signs of age or weakness despite its apparent antiquity. Each stone seems perfectly placed, creating a structure that could easily stand for another century or more. On the far side of the bridge, the road continues into a grove of pine trees. The air here smells different, sharper and cleaner, with the distinctive scent of evergreen needles and mountain air. The temperature has dropped slightly, just enough to be noticeable, as if you have crossed into a different climate zone entirely. The stories about what lies beyond the Devil's Bridge are as varied as those about the bridge itself. Some say the road leads to a town that exists only at night, populated by the spirits of those who never found their way home. Others claim it connects to every other Devil's Bridge in the world, creating a network of crossings that span continents and centuries. You decide to rest for a moment on a fallen log beside the road. The evening has settled into full night now, and the stars shine with unusual clarity through the pine branches. The Milky Way stretches across the sky like a river of light, and you find yourself thinking about all the other people who have stood in this spot, looking up at these same stars, wondering about the mysteries that surround this lonely bridge. A gentle breeze moves through the pines, creating a sound like distant ocean waves. The night is full of small sounds, the hoot of an owl, the rustle of a small animal moving through the underbrush, the soft sigh of wind through leaves. None of these sounds are threatening. They are simply part of the natural symphony that plays in wild places after dark. You begin to understand why the bridge has captured so many imaginations over the years. There is something about this place that exists outside the normal flow of time and space. It is not that anything supernatural necessarily happens here, but rather that the ordinary world seems less solid, more open to possibility and wonder. The mist continues to rise from the gorge, flowing over the bridge like a slow river. In its swirls and eddies, you can almost see faces and figures, but they dissolve and reform before you can focus on them clearly. This is the kind of place where the imagination naturally fills in the gaps left by limited vision, creating stories and meanings from shadows and suggestions. As you sit in the quiet darkness, you begin to appreciate the craftsmanship that went into building this bridge. Each stone was carefully selected and shaped, fitted precisely into place without the benefit of modern tools or machinery. The builders worked with patience and skill, creating something that would serve travellers for generations to come. The stories about the bridge being built in a single night by supernatural forces seem less likely when you consider the actual engineering involved. This was the work of skilled human hands, guided by knowledge passed down through generations of stoneworkers. The mystery is not in the speed of its construction, but in the dedication and artistry of those who built it. Yet there is something undeniably otherworldly about the bridge and its surroundings. Perhaps it is simply the way this place has been removed from the rush and noise of modern life, allowing it to exist as a pocket of timelessness in an increasingly connected world. Here you can still experience the kind of solitude and quiet that has become rare in most places. You stand and begin walking back toward the bridge, drawn by an impulse to cross it once more before continuing your journey. The stones feel familiar beneath your feet now, and you notice details that escaped your attention before. Small ferns have taken root between some of the stones, creating tiny gardens that survive on the moisture from the mist below. The parapet bears the carved initials of countless visitors over the years. Some are fresh and sharp, while others have been worn smooth by weather and time. Each set of initials represents someone who stood where you stand now, someone who was moved to leave a small mark of their passage through this place. Among the initials you notice a few longer inscriptions. One reads, "For those who wander are not always lost." Another simply says, "Remember." A third, in letters so faded they are barely visible, appears to say, "The door is always open." These messages feel like communications across time, left by previous travellers for those who would come after them. The water below continues its ancient conversation with the stones, a sound that has remained unchanged for centuries. It speaks of persistence and patience, of the power of small forces applied consistently over long periods of time. The creek has carved this gorge grain by grain, season by season, creating the void that made this bridge necessary. You lean against the parapet and close your eyes, listening to the night sounds around you. In the distance, a church bell chimes 10 times, its notes carrying clearly through the still air. The sound connects this lonely place to the human community beyond the hills, a reminder that even in solitude you are part of a larger world. The mist has begun to thin slightly, allowing you to catch glimpses of the water below. It moves slowly but steadily, carrying leaves and small branches downstream towards some distant destination. The water seems to glow faintly in the starlight, creating patterns of light and shadow that shift and change as you watch. Some of the local stories claim that the water below the Devil's Bridge has special properties. A few say it can show you visions of the future if you look into it at just the right moment. Others believe it can wash away sorrows or regrets if you're brave enough to climb down and touch it. These stories may or may not be true, but they speak to the human desire to find meaning and magic in the natural world. You begin to understand why someone might choose to spend an entire night on this bridge. It is not just the legends and stories that make it compelling, but the profound sense of peace and timelessness that seems to permeate this place. Here, removed from the distractions and demands of daily life, you can simply exist in the present moment, aware of your breathing and heartbeat, and the gentle sounds of night around you. The temperature has dropped a few more degrees, and you pull your jacket closer around you. The cool air feels clean and fresh in your lungs, carrying with it the sense of pine and water and wild growing things. This is the kind of air that exists only in places far from cities and highways, where the natural world still dominates the landscape. A shooting star streaks across the sky, its light reflected briefly in the water below. The sight fills you with a sense of wonder and connection to the larger universe. Standing on this ancient bridge under the star-filled sky, you feel yourself to be part of something vast and timeless, a single note in a symphony that has been playing since the beginning of time. The stories about the Devil's Bridge often focus on fear and supernatural terror, but the actual experience of being here is quite different. This is a place of quiet contemplation, of gentle mystery rather than sharp-edged horror. The real magic lies not in ghostly apparitions or supernatural encounters, but in the simple fact that such places still exist in our increasingly developed world. You decide to sit on the bridge itself, your legs dangling over the side. The stone is wide enough to be comfortable, and the position gives you an even better view of the stars reflected in the mist below. From this vantage point, you can see both directions along the road, two paths disappearing into darkness and possibility. The church bell chimes again, marking the half hour. Time seems to move differently here, each minute stretching to accommodate the full experience of being present in this moment. You're not anxious for time to pass or eager to be somewhere else. For now, this bridge and this night are enough. A family of deer emerges from the trees on the far side of the bridge, moving with the careful grace that speaks of generations of survival in wild places. They pause at the edge of the road, testing the air with their sensitive noses before deciding it is safe to proceed. One by one, they cross the bridge, their hooves making soft clicking sounds against the stone. The deer pay you no attention, treating your presence as simply another element of the nighttime landscape. This acceptance feels like a gift, a sign that you have found the right rhythm for this place. You're not an intruder here, but a temporary part of the natural community that inhabits these hills. After the deer have passed, the bridge settles back into its quiet rhythm. The mist continues to rise and fall like slow breathing, and the water below maintains its ancient conversation with the stones. These are the sounds of a place that exists primarily for itself, not as a destination for human visitors, but as part of the larger web of life that spans these hills and valleys. You find yourself thinking about all the people who have crossed this bridge over the years, farmers heading to market with loaded wagons, children walking to school in the next valley, lovers meeting in secret beneath the stars, travellers like yourself drawn by curiosity or legend to experience this place for themselves. Each person who crossed this bridge carried their own stories, their own hopes and fears and dreams. The bridge has been a silent witness to countless human dramas, large and small. It has seen proposals and farewells, celebrations and sorrows, the full range of human experience played out against the backdrop of its ancient stones. The legends surrounding the Devil's Bridge are really just the latest chapter in a much longer story, one that began when the first human being looked at this gorge and imagined a way to cross it. The bridge represents human ingenuity and determination, the refusal to be stopped by natural obstacles. In this sense, it is a profoundly hopeful structure, a testament to our ability to find solutions and create connections. As the night deepens, you become more aware of the subtle sounds around you, the soft hoot of an owl hunting somewhere in the darkness, the rustle of small creatures moving through the underbrush, the gentle sigh of wind through the pine branches. These sounds create a natural symphony that has been playing in this valley for thousands of years. The stars have reached their full brilliance now, unmarred by any artificial light. You can see the Milky Way clearly, that river of distant suns that reminds you of your place in the larger universe. On a night like this, in a place like this, the connection between earth and sky feels immediate and real. You lie back on the warm stone of the bridge, using your jacket as a pillow. From this position, you have an unobstructed view of the night sky, and you can feel the solid presence of the bridge beneath you. The stone has absorbed heat from the day and releases it slowly, creating a natural warmth that makes your improvised bed comfortable. The church bell chimes 11 times, and you realize you have been on the bridge for over an hour. The time has passed without your awareness, flowing by like the water beneath you. This is one of the gifts of places like this. They allow you to step outside the normal constraints of time and simply be present in the moment. The mist below has thickened again, creating a layer of white that obscures the water entirely. From your position on the bridge, it looks like you are suspended above a sea of clouds, floating in space between the earth and stars. This illusion adds to the otherworldly feeling of the place, making it easy to understand why so many stories and legends have grown up around it. A gentle breeze moves across the bridge, carrying with it the scent of night-blooming flowers from somewhere downstream. The fragrance is subtle but distinctive, adding another layer to the sensory experience of this place. You breathe deeply, allowing the clean night air to fill your lungs and clear your mind of any remaining tensions from the day. The stories people tell about the Devil's Bridge often focus on dramatic encounters and supernatural events, but the real power of this place lies in its ability to provide exactly what you're experiencing now, a sense of peace and connection to something larger than yourself. This is why people return to places like this, not for thrills or scares, but for the restoration that comes from contact with the natural world. You close your eyes and listen to the night sounds around you. Each sound has its place in the larger symphony. The water below, the wind above, the small rustles and movements of nocturnal creatures going about their business. Together, they create a composition that is both complex and harmonious, a reminder of the intricate web of relationships that sustains the natural world. The stone beneath you continues to radiate warmth, and you find yourself becoming drowsy. This is not the heavy drugged sleep that comes from exhaustion, but the gentle drowsiness that arises naturally when you are completely relaxed and at peace with your surroundings. Your breathing becomes slower and deeper, matching the rhythm of the place around you. In the distance, a train whistle echoes through the hills, its lonely call speaking of journeys and destinations and the romance of travel. The sound connects this isolated place to the larger world of movement and purpose, but it does not disturb the essential quietude of the bridge. Instead, it adds another note to the nighttime symphony, a reminder that even in solitude, you are part of a connected world. The church bell chimes once more, marking the 3/4 hour. The sound drifts across the landscape like a blessing, connecting all the scattered farms and houses to a common rhythm. You imagine the bell tower standing alone in the darkness, its bronze voice carrying news of time's passage to anyone who cares to listen. You open your eyes and study the stars above. Without the interference of artificial light, you can see colours in them that are usually invisible, subtle blues and reds and yellows that paint the night sky like an artist's palette. Each star is a sun like our own, perhaps warming planets where other creatures might be lying on their own bridges, looking up at their own night skies. The thought fills you with a profound sense of connection to the universe. You're not separate from the stars and planets and galaxies above you, but part of them, made from the same basic materials and governed by the same fundamental laws. This bridge, these stones, the water below, the air you breathe, all of it is part of a single, vast, interconnected system that has been unfolding for billions of years. The mist below begins to swirl in new patterns, creating shapes that seem almost purposeful in their movements. You watch as faces and figures seem to form and dissolve in the white billows, never quite solid enough to be certain of what you are seeing. This is the realm where imagination and reality meet, where the mind creates meaning from the play of light and shadow. The legends about the Devil's Bridge often speak of visions and supernatural encounters, but perhaps these stories arose from exactly what you're experiencing now, the natural tendency of the human mind to find patterns and meaning in ambiguous stimuli. In the shifting mist and moving shadows, it would be easy to see whatever your heart most desires or fears. A cool breeze moves across the bridge, carrying with it the fresh scent of rain somewhere in the distance. The air pressure seems to be changing, and you sense that weather is moving in from the west. But for now, the sky remains clear, and the stars continue to shine with undiminished brilliance. You sit up and look around, taking in the full scene once more. The bridge stretches away in both directions, its stones pale in the starlight. The trees on either side stand like silent guardians, their branches moving gently in the evening breeze. The whole scene has the quality of a painting or a dream, something too perfect and peaceful to be entirely real. Yet, it is real. More real in some ways than the busy, distracted world you left behind to come here. This is a place where you can encounter the essential qualities of existence: solitude, silence, the passage of time, the beauty of the natural world. These are the experiences that connect you to the deeper currents of life, the ones that flow beneath the surface of daily concerns and activities. The church bell begins to chime midnight, its 12 slow notes marking the transition from one day to the next. According to the legends, this is the hour when the Devil's Bridge reveals its secrets, when the boundary between worlds grows thin and supernatural encounters become possible. You listen to each note as it fades into the night, counting them off until the final chime dies away into silence. But nothing dramatic happens. No ghostly figures appear in the mist. No demonic voices call from the darkness below. Instead, the bridge simply continues to exist as it has for countless midnights before this one, solid and peaceful under the star-filled sky. Perhaps this is the real secret of the Devil's Bridge, that its power lies not in supernatural drama, but in its ability to provide a space for quiet contemplation and natural beauty. The mist below seems to glow more brightly now, as if lit from within by some gentle source of illumination. The effect is beautiful rather than frightening, creating a soft carpet of light that shifts and moves like a living thing. You could watch this display for hours, finding new patterns and meanings in its endless variations. A night bird calls from somewhere in the trees, its voice liquid and sweet in the darkness. The sound seems to hang in the air for a moment before fading away, leaving behind a silence that feels deeper and more complete than before. This is the kind of silence that can only exist in places far from the noise and bustle of human activity, where the natural world can express itself without interference. You find yourself thinking about the stories people tell about places like this. Every culture has its own versions of the Devil's Bridge legend, mysterious crossings where the normal rules of reality no longer apply, where travellers can encounter the supernatural or glimpse other worlds. These stories seem to arise naturally from the human experience of travelling through wild and beautiful places. Perhaps the stories serve as a way of acknowledging that there are places in the world that resist easy explanation or categorization. Not everything can be reduced to facts and figures. Some experiences require myth and legend to capture their essential truth. The Devil's Bridge may not be supernatural in any literal sense, but it is certainly extraordinary in its ability to provide peace and wonder to those who seek it out. The temperature continues to drop as the night progresses, and you pull your jacket more tightly around you. The cool air feels invigorating rather than uncomfortable, sharpening your senses and making you more aware of your surroundings. This is the kind of cold that reminds you of your own vitality, your body's ability to adapt and respond to changing conditions. You stand and walk slowly across the bridge once more, running your hand along the stone parapet. Each stone feels different under your palm, some smooth and worn, others still bearing the marks of the tools that shaped them. The craftsmanship is remarkable, a testament to the skill and patience of builders who took pride in creating something that would last. On the far side of the bridge, you can see the road continuing into the darkness, disappearing between the trees like an invitation to further exploration. But you are content to remain here for now, to experience this place fully before moving on to whatever lies ahead. There is wisdom in knowing when to journey, and when to simply be still. The water below continues its ancient song, a sound that has remained unchanged since the bridge was first built. It speaks of continuity and endurance, of the slow but persistent forces that shape the landscape over time. Rivers like this one have carved valleys and canyons throughout the world, creating the natural features that define our geography. You return to your position in the centre of the bridge and lie back once more on the warm stone. The stars above seem even brighter now, as if the passage of midnight has somehow enhanced their luminosity. The Milky Way stretches across the entire sky, a river of light that connects you to the infinite reaches of space. The mist below has taken on new patterns, swirling and eddying in ways that suggest hidden currents and forces. In its movements, you can almost see the story of this place. The slow formation of the gorge, the arrival of the first humans, the building of the bridge, the countless crossings that have taken place over the years. Each swirl and eddy seems to represent another chapter in the long history of this valley. A gentle rain begins to fall, so light that you barely notice it at first. The droplets are tiny and warm, more like a fine mist than actual precipitation. They create a soft pattering sound on the stones around you, adding another layer to the symphony of night sounds. The rain carries with it the scent of growing things, of forests and fields refreshed by moisture. You could seek shelter under the trees, but the rain is so gentle that it seems more like a blessing than a threat. You remain on the bridge, allowing the soft droplets to cool your skin and refresh your spirit. This is the kind of rain that gardeners pray for, gentle and steady, soaking into the earth without causing erosion or flooding. The church bell chimes again, marking the half hour past midnight. The sound seems different now, more distant and dreamlike, as if it is reaching you from across a great expanse of time as well as space. You imagine the bell ringer in the tower, faithfully marking the hours for the scattered residents of these hills, providing a common rhythm that connects the community across the darkness. The rain continues to fall gently, creating small streams that run along the stones of the bridge before dripping down into the mist below. The sound is soothing, like a natural lullaby that speaks of growth and renewal. You can almost feel the plants and trees around you responding to the moisture, drinking it in through their roots and leaves. As the rain falls, the mist below seems to dance and swirl with increased energy, as if the two forms of water are communicating with each other in some ancient language. The patterns become more complex and beautiful, creating a display that rivals any fireworks show or light display created by human hands. This is entertainment provided by the natural world, available to anyone patient enough to observe it. You close your eyes and listen to the rain falling around you. Each droplet that strikes the stone creates a tiny percussion note, and together they form a rhythm that is both random and somehow purposeful. This is music created by the interaction of weather and stone, a composition that has been playing here for as long as the bridge has stood. The air smells clean and fresh, washed by the gentle rain. All the dust and pollen of the day has been cleansed away, leaving behind the pure scents of water and stone and growing plants. You breathe deeply, feeling the clean air fill your lungs and refresh your entire body. This is the kind of air that exists only after rain, when the world has been washed clean and renewed. The rain begins to taper off as gradually as it began, the droplets becoming smaller and less frequent until they cease entirely. The silence that follows seems deeper and more complete than before, as if the rain has washed away all the small sounds and distractions, leaving behind only the essential elements of this place. In the renewed silence, you become aware of your own heartbeat and breathing, the fundamental rhythms that sustain your life. These sounds connect you to every other living thing, reminders that you are part of a vast community of creatures all sharing the basic processes of existence. Your heart beats in time with the hearts of the deer that crossed earlier, with the night birds calling in the distance, with all the unseen creatures that inhabit these hills. The mist below has settled into new patterns following the rain, creating formations that seem more stable and defined than before. In the pale light of the stars, you can almost make out the surface of the water below, glinting and sparkling as it reflects the light from above. The entire scene has the quality of a fairy tale or dream, too beautiful and perfect to be entirely believable. Yet you know that this is real, that you're actually lying on an ancient stone bridge in the middle of the night, surrounded by the sounds and scents of the natural world. This knowledge fills you with a deep sense of gratitude for the opportunity to experience such beauty and peace. Not everyone gets to witness nights like this, moments when the world reveals its essential magic to those patient enough to observe it. The church bell chimes 1 o'clock, its notes clear and true in the washed air. The sound seems to bless the entire valley, connecting all the scattered points of human habitation to this shared moment in time. You picture people in farmhouses and cottages throughout the hills, some sleeping peacefully, others perhaps lying awake listening to the same bell that marks your vigil on the bridge. You sit up and look around once more, taking in the transformed landscape. The rain has made everything look fresh and new, as if the world has been reborn while you watched. The stones of the bridge glisten with moisture, and the leaves of the surrounding trees shine like jewels in the starlight. Even the road on both sides of the bridge seems to have been renewed, its surface washed clean of dust and debris. A light breeze moves across the bridge, carrying with it the scent of the rain-freshened earth. The air feels soft against your skin, gentle and caressing rather than cold. This is the kind of breeze that seems to carry blessings, touching everything it encounters with a sense of renewal and possibility. The water below sounds different now, its voice changed by the addition of rainwater from throughout the valley. The creek is speaking in a fuller, richer tone, carrying with it the stories of all the places the rain has touched. You can almost hear the individual contributions, runoff from the hillsides, drainage from the meadows, the collected moisture from thousands of leaves and branches. You find yourself thinking about the interconnectedness of all these elements: the rain, the creek, the bridge, the trees, the earth beneath it all. Each component plays its part in a larger system that has been functioning for countless years. You're a temporary visitor to this system, but while you're here, you're also part of it, breathing its air, feeling its rhythms, sharing in its ancient patterns. The legends about the Devil's Bridge often focus on supernatural encounters and otherworldly events, but perhaps the real magic of this place lies in its ability to connect you to these natural rhythms and cycles. Here, removed from the artificial environments of modern life, you can remember what it feels like to be part of the larger web of existence. A shooting star streaks across the sky, its light reflected briefly in the wet stones around you. The sight fills you with wonder and a sense of connection to the larger universe. You're not separate from the stars and planets above, but part of the same cosmic story that has been unfolding for billions of years. The calcium in your bones, the iron in your blood, the oxygen in your lungs, all of it was forged in the nuclear furnaces of ancient stars. The mist below continues to shift and change, creating new patterns with each passing minute. In its movements, you can see the story of water itself: evaporation from the oceans, condensation in the clouds, precipitation as rain, collection in streams and rivers, and eventually the return to the sea. This endless cycle has been continuing since the Earth first formed, and will continue long after you and everyone you know have become part of the geological record. The thought is both humbling and comforting. You are part of something much larger and more enduring than your individual existence, connected to all of life through the fundamental elements and processes that sustain everything. This bridge, these stones, the water below, all of it is part of the same story, the same vast unfolding of matter and energy that encompasses everything from the smallest subatomic particles to the largest galactic clusters. You lie back down on the bridge, feeling the solid stone beneath you and the soft air above. The position allows you to see both the stars overhead and the mist below, connecting you to both the cosmic and terrestrial aspects of your environment. This is a perfect vantage point for contemplating your place in the universe, suspended between earth and sky on a bridge that has witnessed countless such moments of reflection. The The church bell chimes again, marking another quarter hour. The sound has become a familiar companion, a regular reminder of time's passage that somehow makes you less concerned about time rather than more. Here, in this timeless place, minutes and hours seem less important than the quality of experience, the depth of connection to your surroundings. A family of raccoons emerges from the trees on one side of the bridge, moving with the careful deliberation of experienced night travellers. They pause at the approach to the bridge, testing the air and listening for any signs of danger. Finding none, they proceed across, their masked faces giving them an air of mystery and mischief in the starlight. The raccoons pay you little attention, accepting your presence as part of the nighttime landscape. One pauses briefly to drink from a puddle of rainwater that has collected in a depression in the stone, its small hands surprisingly delicate as it cups the water to its mouth. The gesture is so familiar, so relatable, that it reminds you once again of your connection to all living things. After the raccoons have passed, the bridge settles back into its quiet rhythm. The encounter was brief but meaningful, a reminder that you are sharing this space with a whole community of creatures who call these hills home. Each animal has its own relationship with the bridge, its own reasons for crossing from one side to the other, its own stories that intersect with the larger narrative of this place. The mist below has begun to thin slightly, allowing you to catch glimpses of the water moving over the rocks far below. The creek seems to be running fuller now, enriched by the gentle rain that fell earlier. Its voice has changed to accommodate the increased flow, speaking in deeper, more resonant tones that echo up from the gorge like a natural organ played by the wind and water. You close your eyes and listen to this underground music, allowing it to wash over you like a natural sound bath. The tones are complex and layered, with harmonics and overtones that create a rich acoustic experience. This is music that has been playing in this valley for centuries, available to anyone who takes the time to listen carefully and appreciate its subtle beauty. The air temperature has stabilized now, settling into the gentle coolness that characterizes late spring nights in the mountains. It is just cool enough to be invigorating without being uncomfortable, the kind of temperature that makes you aware of your body's natural warmth and vitality. You feel perfectly comfortable lying on the stone bridge, as if you could remain here indefinitely without discomfort. The stars above continue their slow wheel across the sky, marking the passage of the night in the most ancient way known to humanity. Before clocks and calendars, before artificial light obscured the heavens, people navigated by these same stars and told time by their movements. Lying here under the open sky, you feel connected to all those previous generations who looked up at these same celestial landmarks. The church bell chimes 2 o'clock, and you realize that you have been on the bridge for several hours now. The time has passed without your awareness, flowing by as smoothly as the water beneath you. This is one of the gifts of places like this. They allow you to step outside the normal constraints of time and simply exist in the present moment, fully engaged with your immediate experience. A gentle breeze moves across the bridge, carrying with it the scents of the rain-washed countryside. You can smell wet earth and fresh grass, blooming wildflowers and the clean scent of flowing water. These fragrances create a natural perfume that is far more complex and satisfying than any artificial substitute, reminding you of the incredible richness and diversity of the natural world. The mist below has continued to change and evolve, creating new patterns and formations with each passing minute. In its movements, you can see stories and meanings that seem to shift and change as you watch. This is the kind of natural entertainment that has captivated humans for thousands of years. The endless fascination of watching clouds and mist and water create temporary art in the sky. You sit up and swing your legs over the side of the bridge, allowing them to dangle in the space above the gorge. From this position, you have an even better view of the mist patterns below, and you can feel the cool air rising from the water as it moves up through the stone arches. The sensation is refreshing and energizing, like a natural air conditioning system powered by the flow of the creek. The road on both sides of the bridge stretches away into the darkness, disappearing around curves and over hills that hide whatever destinations they might lead to. But you're not concerned with destinations right now. The journey itself has become the purpose, and this bridge is both the perfect rest stop and the perfect destination in itself. A nighthawk cries somewhere overhead, its voice wild and free in the darkness. The sound seems to come from everywhere and nowhere at once. echoing off the stone surfaces and mixing with the sound of the water below. This is the voice of the night, the call of creatures who thrive in the darkness and find in it not something to be feared, but their natural element. The legends about the Devil's Bridge often emphasize fear and supernatural terror, but the actual experience of being here reveals a different kind of truth. This is a place of profound peace and natural beauty, where the real magic lies not in ghostly encounters or demonic bargains, but in the simple opportunity to connect with the rhythms and patterns of the natural world. You find yourself thinking about all the people who have crossed this bridge over the years, each carrying their own stories and purposes. Some may have been frightened by the legends and hurried across as quickly as possible. Others, like yourself, may have lingered to appreciate the beauty and tranquility of this place. Each person's experience would have been different, shaped by their own expectations and state of mind. The church bell chimes the half hour, and you notice that the sky in the east has begun to show the faintest hint of lightning. Dawn is still hours away, but the night has reached its deepest point and begun the slow turn toward morning. This is the most peaceful time of night, when even the most restless spirits seem to settle into quiet contemplation. The mist below has taken on a different quality, in the pre-dawn air becoming more luminous and ethereal. It seems to glow from within, creating patterns of light and shadow that are constantly changing and evolving. This natural light show is far more beautiful and meaningful than any artificial display created by the complex interactions of water, air, and starlight. You lie back down on the bridge and close your eyes, allowing yourself to sink into the peaceful rhythm of this place. Your breathing has synchronized with the sound of the water below, and your heartbeat seems to match the pulse of the night around you. This is what it means to be truly present in a place, to become part of its natural harmony rather than remaining separate from it. The stone beneath you continues to radiate warmth, as if it has absorbed not just the heat of the day but something deeper, the accumulated energy of all the sunlight that has fallen on this bridge over the years, all the warmth of the hands that have touched these stones, all the life that has passed over this crossing. You're lying on a reservoir of memory and experience, stored in the patient stone. A light breeze carries the scent of morning dew beginning to form on the grass and leaves around you. The air has that distinctive smell that comes just before dawn, fresh and clean and full of potential. It speaks of new beginnings, of the daily miracle of the sun's return, of the endless cycle of death and renewal that governs all life. The water below seems to be running even fuller now, fed by the ongoing drainage from the earlier rain and by springs that emerge from the hillsides throughout the valley. Its voice has grown richer and more complex, incorporating new themes and variations as the volume increases. This is a creek in conversation with itself, telling the story of its journey from source to sea. You open your eyes and study the stars above, noting how some of the fainter ones have begun to fade as the sky slowly lightens. The brightest stars and planets still shine clearly, but the delicate tracery of the Milky Way has begun to lose definition. Dawn is still far off, but the night has reached its peak and begun the long slide toward morning. The church bell chimes 3 o'clock, its notes seeming to hang in the air longer than before, as if the approaching dawn has changed the acoustic properties of the valley. The sound travels differently in the pre-dawn air, carrying farther and lingering longer, connecting you to the sleeping community beyond these hills. The mist below continues its slow dance, but the patterns seem different now, more organized and purposeful. In the shifting white formations, you can almost see faces and figures, landscapes and seascapes, abstract patterns that suggest meanings just beyond your ability to grasp. This is the realm where reality and imagination meet, where the mind creates stories from the play of light and shadow. A bat flickers across the sky above you, its erratic flight pattern creating a brief disturbance in the starlight. The creature is hunting insects, navigating by echolocation in the darkness, living a life completely different from your own, yet equally valid and meaningful. Its presence reminds you that you are sharing this night with countless other creatures, each pursuing its own purposes and following its own rhythms. The temperature has begun to shift slightly, the first hint of the thermal changes that will come with dawn. The air is still warm and comfortable, but there is a subtle difference in its quality, a sense of transition and preparation for the changes to come. This is how night gradually surrenders to day, not all at once, but through a series of small adjustments and alterations. You sit up and look around, taking in the transformed landscape of the pre-dawn hours. Everything looks different now, more ethereal and dreamlike, as if the approaching dawn has begun to dissolve the solid boundaries between things. The trees seem to shimmer slightly in the starlight, and the road appears to glow with its own faint luminescence. The legends about the Devil's Bridge often speak of the hours just before dawn as the most magical, when the veil between worlds grows thinnest and supernatural encounters become most likely. Whether or not such things actually occur, there is certainly something special about this time of night, when the ordinary world seems to become more fluid and mysterious. You find yourself thinking about the nature of time and how differently it moves in different places and situations. Here on the bridge, surrounded by the ancient stones and the timeless sounds of flowing water, minutes seem to stretch into hours while hours pass like minutes. This is time as it was experienced before clocks and schedules divided it into rigid segments. Time that flows according to the natural rhythms of experience rather than the artificial demands of efficiency. The mist below has begun to thin slightly as the air temperature changes, allowing you to see more of the water's surface below. The creek is running clear and full, its surface broken by occasional rocks and fallen branches that create small rapids and eddies. The sound it makes is hypnotic and soothing, a natural white noise that seems to wash away all tension and worry. A gentle rain begins to fall again, even lighter than before, more like a fine mist than actual precipitation. The droplets are so small they seem to hang in the air, creating a soft halo around the bridge lights. This is not rain that soaks or chills, but moisture that refreshes and renews, adding another layer of beauty to the already magical atmosphere of this place. The church bell chimes the half hour, and you notice that the eastern sky has continued to lighten almost imperceptibly. The change is so gradual that you can only detect it by comparing the current sky to your memory of how it looked an hour ago. This is how dawn approaches in late spring, not as a sudden event, but as a slow transition that unfolds over hours. You remain lying on the bridge, comfortable and peaceful, in no hurry to move on or change your position. This is exactly where you want to be at this moment, suspended between earth and sky on an ancient stone bridge, surrounded by the sounds and scents of the natural world. The experience has a quality of completeness to it, as if this moment contains everything you need to know about peace and beauty and the nature of existence. The fine mist continues to fall, creating tiny streams that run along the stones of the bridge before joining the larger flow below. The sound is delicate and musical, like a natural percussion section, accompanying the deeper bass notes of the creek. Together they create a symphony that has been playing here for as long as the bridge has stood, available to anyone patient enough to listen carefully. The air smells clean and fresh, washed by the gentle precipitation and filled with the scents of growing things. You can smell wet stone and fresh water, pine needles and wild flowers, the rich earth that supports all the life in this valley. These are the fundamental smells of the natural world, the ones that connect you to the cycles and processes that sustain all life on Earth. A great blue heron flies overhead, its wings beating slowly and steadily as it follows the course of the creek towards some distant feeding ground. The bird's presence adds another element to the night's roster of wildlife, reminding you that you are sharing this space with a diverse community of creatures, each following its own ancient patterns of behavior and survival. The mist below continues to shift and change, but more slowly now, as if the approaching dawn has begun to calm its restless movements. The patterns are still beautiful and complex, but they seem more stable and enduring than before. In the pale light of the stars, the entire scene has the quality of a painting or a vision, something too perfect to be entirely real, yet undeniably present. The church bell chimes 4 o'clock, and you realize that you have spent most of the night on this bridge. The time has passed without your awareness, flowing by as smoothly and naturally as the water beneath you. This is one of the great gifts of places like this. They allow you to step outside the normal flow of time and experience moments of eternal present, when the past and future fade away, and only the immediate reality matters. The eastern sky continues to lighten gradually, though dawn is still more than an hour away. The change is subtle, but unmistakable, a slow brightening that seems to come from within the sky itself rather than from any external source. This is how the Earth turns toward the sun, Not all at once, but through a gradual process that unfolds over hours and connects night to day through a series of small transitions. You close your eyes and listen to the night sounds around you, trying to memorize them so you can carry them with you when you eventually leave this place. The sound of water over stones, the gentle whisper of wind through leaves, the distant call of a night bird, the soft patter of mist on stone. These are the sounds of peace and natural harmony, the acoustic signature of places where the earth still speaks in its own voice. The fine mist continues to fall, but so gently that it seems more like a blessing than weather. Each droplet that touches your skin feels cool and refreshing, a natural baptism that cleanses away the dust and stress of the ordinary world. You feel yourself being renewed by this contact with the elements, reminded of your own connection to the cycles of evaporation and precipitation that sustain all life. The mist below has taken on a golden quality as it reflects the growing light in the eastern sky. The patterns are still complex and beautiful, but they seem to glow with their own internal light, creating a display that rivals any artificial illumination. This is natural lighting at its finest, the result of simple physical processes, light, water, air, combining to create something magical and beautiful. A raccoon family returns across the bridge, moving in the opposite direction from their earlier passage. They travel with the same careful deliberation as before, testing each step and listening carefully for any signs of danger. One of the young ones pauses to investigate a puddle of rainwater, its reflection clearly visible in the still surface, before a gentle breeze disturbs the image. The sight fills you with a sense of continuity and connection to the ongoing life of this place. These creatures have been crossing this bridge for generations, following patterns of movement and behaviour that were established long before humans arrived in this valley. They represent the continuity of wildlife, the persistence of natural rhythms in an increasingly human-dominated world. The church bell chimes the half-hour, its notes seeming to hang in the air longer than usual. The sound has a different quality now, more resonant and meaningful, as if the approaching dawn has somehow enhanced its ability to carry across the landscape. You imagine the bell ringer in the distant tower, faithfully marking the hours for the scattered community that calls these hills home. The eastern sky continues to brighten almost imperceptibly, and you begin to see the silhouettes of distant hills emerging from the darkness. The transition from night to dawn is so gradual that you can only detect it by paying careful attention, watching for the subtle signs that indicate the Earth's rotation toward the sun. This is time as nature measures it, not in the rigid increments of clocks, but in the slow wheel of celestial movements. You sit up and look around, taking in the pre-dawn landscape. Everything has a quality of expectancy now, as if the natural world is preparing for the daily miracle of sunrise. The trees seem to stand more upright, the flowers appear to lift, their faces toward the east, and even the stones of the bridge seem to radiate anticipation for the return of light and warmth. The water below continues its ancient song, but with new harmonics and overtones that speak of fullness and abundance. The creek is running at its optimal level now, neither too high nor too low, carrying with it the perfect balance of nutrients and sediments that will nourish the plants and animals throughout the valley. This is water as it was meant to be, clean, fresh, and full of life. The mist below has begun to organize itself into more stable patterns, creating formations that seem to have purpose and meaning. In the slowly brightening light, you can see details that were invisible in the deeper darkness. Individual water droplets suspended in the air, tiny currents and eddies that create the larger patterns, the precise way light bends and refracts through the suspended moisture. The fine precipitation continues to fall, but even more gently now, as if the approaching dawn has calmed the atmospheric conditions that create such weather. The droplets are barely perceptible as they touch your skin, more like a gentle caress than actual moisture. This is rain refined to its essence, weather reduced to its most gentle and benevolent form. A great horned owl calls from somewhere in the trees, its voice deep and resonant in the pre-dawn air. The sound seems to come from the very heart of the forest, speaking of wilderness and wildness, of places where humans are visitors rather than residents. The owl's call connects you to the night hunters, the creatures that thrive in darkness and find in it not something to be feared but their natural element. The church bell chimes 5 o'clock, and you notice that the eastern sky has begun to show definite signs of the approaching dawn. The darkness is giving way to a deep purple that will gradually lighten to blue and then to the gold and pink of sunrise. This is the daily miracle that has been occurring for billions of years, the rotation of the Earth that brings light and warmth to each part of the planet in turn. You find yourself thinking about all the dawns that have broken over this bridge, each one slightly different from all the others, yet part of the same endless cycle. This bridge has witnessed thousands of sunrises, each one marking the beginning of a new day for the plants and animals and people who call this valley home. You're about to witness just one of these daily miracles, but your presence here makes it unique and special. The mist below has begun to thin as the air temperature starts to change with the approaching dawn. The patterns are still beautiful and complex, but they seem more ephemeral now, as if they know their time is limited and they must make the most of their brief existence. In their movements, you can see the story of all temporary beauty, intense, meaningful, and ultimately transient. The sound of the water below has changed subtly as the night progresses toward dawn. The voice of the creek now carries with it hints of the thermal changes that will come with sunrise, the warming of the stone surfaces, the evaporation that will begin as the sun's rays reach the water, the increased activity of aquatic life as the temperature rises. This is a creek preparing for the day, adjusting its voice to accommodate the changes that are coming. A deer steps delicately to the edge of the bridge, pauses to test the air, and then proceeds across with the quiet grace that characterizes these creatures. Its hooves make soft clicking sounds against the stone, a natural percussion that adds another layer to the symphony of night sounds. The deer pays you no attention, accepting your presence as part of the natural landscape. The fine mist continues to fall, but so gently now that it seems more like a natural exhalation of the earth than actual precipitation. Each droplet carries with it the essence of the place where it formed, the moisture from leaves and soil, the breath of sleeping animals, the exhalation of flowers as they prepare for the morning light. This is water that has been part of the local ecosystem, returning to nourish the same plants and creatures that gave it life. The eastern sky continues to brighten gradually, and you can now see the definite outline of hills and trees against the lightening horizon. The transformation is still subtle, more felt than seen, but unmistakable to anyone who has spent hours watching the slow wheel of night toward day. This is how the earth turns toward the sun, not suddenly, but through a gradual process that connects all moments in an endless chain of transition. The church bell chimes the half hour, and you realize that dawn is now less than an hour away. The sound seems different now, more urgent and alive, as if it too is participating in the daily preparation for sunrise. You imagine the bell tower standing silhouetted against the lightening sky, its bronze voice calling the community to awareness of the approaching day. You lie back down on the bridge one more time, wanting to experience these final moments of night as fully as possible. The stone beneath you is still warm from the accumulated heat of the previous day, but you can sense that this will begin to change as the thermal dynamics shift with the coming of light. Soon the bridge will begin to warm again as it receives the first rays of the morning sun. The stars above are beginning to fade as the sky continues to lighten. The brightest ones still shine clearly, but the fainter stars and the delicate structure of the Milky Way have begun to dissolve into the growing light. This is the daily surrender of night to day, the slow retreat of darkness as the earth turns toward its source of light and life. The mist below glows more brightly now, illuminated by the growing light in the eastern sky. The patterns have become more ethereal and ghost-like, as if they are preparing to dissolve. Entirely as the sun rises, in their shifting formations you can see the last dance of the night mist, a final display of beauty before the warming air disperses them back into the invisible water vapour from which they came. A cardinal begins to sing somewhere in the trees, its clear notes cutting through the gentle sounds of water and wind. This is one of the first birds to greet the dawn, its voice a herald of the approaching day. The song is pure and sweet, full of the joy and energy that comes with the daily renewal of light and warmth. The fine precipitation has almost stopped now, reduced to the occasional droplet that seems more like dew forming in the air than actual rain. The atmospheric conditions are changing as the night gives way to day, and the delicate balance of temperature and humidity that creates such gentle weather is beginning to shift toward the different patterns that will characterize the morning hours. The church bell chimes 6 o'clock, and you can see the first definite glow of dawn beginning to appear on the eastern horizon. The sky has lightened from deep purple to a softer lavender, and you can make out the shapes of individual trees and buildings silhouetted against the growing light. This is the moment when night officially gives way to dawn, though the transition has been occurring gradually for hours. You sit up to watch the final moments of your night vigil on the Devil's Bridge. The experience has been everything you hoped for and more. A journey into peace and natural beauty. A connection to rhythms and cycles that exist far beyond the boundaries of human concerns and activities. You've spent the night in communion with the natural world, and you feel renewed and refreshed by the experience. The mist below has begun to dissipate more rapidly now, as the air temperature starts to rise with the approaching sun. The beautiful patterns that have entertained you throughout the night are becoming more ephemeral and transparent, like dreams fading with the return of consciousness. But their beauty has been real and meaningful, a reminder that nature creates art constantly for those patient enough to observe it. The water below continues its eternal song, but with new themes and variations that speak of the coming day. You can hear the voice of a creek preparing for sunrise, the anticipation of warming stone, the expectation of increased flow as dew and remaining mist return to the earth, the readiness for another day of nourishing the life that depends on its waters. A blue jay calls from the trees, its voice bright and energetic in the growing light. This is the sound of day beginning, of creatures that thrive in sunlight preparing for another cycle of activity and purpose. The call connects you to the diurnal world, the realm of beings that sleep through the night and awaken with the sun. The eastern sky continues to brighten, and you can now see colours beginning to appear, subtle pinks and golds that herald the approach of direct sunlight. The transformation is accelerating now, the gradual changes of the night giving way to the more rapid shifts that characterize the transition from dawn to full daylight. You stand and stretch, preparing to conclude your vigil on the Devil's Bridge. The night has been a perfect gift, hours of peace and beauty, connection to natural rhythms, and the kind of deep rest that comes not from sleep but from complete harmony with your surroundings. You feel as though you've been recharged and renewed, ready to carry the peace of this place with you wherever your journey may lead. The church bell chimes the half hour, its notes now clearly audible in the still morning air. The sound connects you one final time to the human community beyond these hills, reminding you that even in the most solitary experiences, you remain part of a larger world of relationships and connections. The mist below has almost entirely dissipated now, revealing the clear water of the creek running over its bed of smooth stones. The surface reflects the growing light in the eastern sky, creating a mirror that doubles the beauty of the dawn. This is water as it appears in full daylight, clear, clean, and vibrantly alive with the energy of flowing toward its destination. A mockingbird begins its complex song from a nearby tree, cycling through a repertoire of calls and melodies that speak of territorial claims and reproductive readiness. The bird's voice is rich and varied, capable of imitating dozens of other species while maintaining its own distinctive character. This is the sound of day truly beginning, of the diurnal world awakening to another cycle of activity and purpose. The fine mist has stopped entirely now, and the air feels different, drier, and more energetic, charged with the anticipation of sunrise. You can sense the atmospheric changes that accompany the transition from night to day, the shift in pressure and humidity that will bring different weather patterns and different qualities of light. The eastern sky continues to brighten rapidly now, and you can see the first hint of the sun itself beginning to appear above the distant hills. The light is still indirect, filtered through the atmosphere and scattered by particles of dust and moisture, but it carries with it the promise of full daylight and the warmth that will come with direct solar radiation. You take one final look around the bridge, memorizing the details that have become familiar during your night-long vigil. The stones worn smooth by weather and time, the parapet carved with the initials of countless previous visitors, the gentle arch that spans the gorge with such elegant simplicity. All of these details have become part of your experience, elements in a night that you will remember for the rest of your life. The water below runs clear and full in the growing light, its voice changed once again as the thermal conditions shift with the approach of direct sunlight. Soon the sun's rays will reach the surface of the creek, beginning the daily process of evaporation that will eventually return this water to the clouds, completing another cycle in the endless circulation that sustains all life on Earth. A wood thrush calls from deep in the forest, its liquid notes cascading through the morning air like a natural flute solo. This is one of the most beautiful bird songs in North America, a sound that seems to capture the very essence of woodland peace and beauty. The thrush's voice connects you to the deep forest, the realm of ancient trees and shadowed paths where wildlife thrives away from human interference. The church bell chimes 7 o'clock, and the sun breaks free of the eastern hills, sending its first direct rays across the valley. The light transforms everything it touches. The stones of the bridge begin to warm, the surface of the water below sparkles with reflected brilliance, and the trees around you seem to come alive with renewed energy and purpose. You know it is time to leave the Devil's Bridge and continue your journey. The night has been a perfect experience. Hours of peace and beauty, connection to natural rhythms, and the kind of deep restoration that comes from complete harmony with the natural world. You feel as though you've been blessed by your time in this place, gifted with memories and insights that will sustain you long after you have returned to the ordinary world. But as you prepare to depart, you understand why the legends say that few people can last a full night on the Devil's Bridge. It is not because of supernatural terror or demonic encounters, but because the experience is so intense and transformative that it changes you in fundamental ways. You're not the same person who walked onto this bridge in the evening darkness. The night has worked its gentle magic, connecting you to rhythms and truths that exist far beyond the boundaries of daily concerns and activities. The mist has entirely cleared now, revealing the full beauty of the valley in the morning light. The creek runs clear and bright between banks lined with wildflowers and ferns, while the hills rise gently on both sides, covered with the fresh green of late spring vegetation. This is the landscape that the bridge serves, connecting the paths that wind through this peaceful countryside. You take one final look at the bridge itself, appreciating once more the skill and dedication of its builders. These stones will stand for generations to come, providing safe passage for countless future travellers. Some will hurry across, intent on reaching their destinations. Others may linger as you have done, drawn by the beauty and peace of this special place. As you step off the Devil's Bridge and begin walking along the country road, you carry with you the gifts of the night: peace, beauty, connection to natural rhythms, and the deep satisfaction that comes from experiencing the world as it was meant to be experienced. The legends speak of supernatural encounters and otherworldly events, but the real magic of the Devil's Bridge lies in its ability to provide what you have experienced: a night of perfect harmony with the natural world. The sun climbs higher in the eastern sky, and you can feel its warmth beginning to touch your skin. The day is beginning in earnest now, with all its possibilities and purposes, but you will carry with you always the memory of this night on the bridge, a reminder that there are still places in the world where peace and beauty exist in their pure forms, waiting for those patient enough to seek them out. Behind you, the Devil's Bridge settles into its daytime rhythm, ready to serve whatever travellers the day may bring. The stones continue to warm in the morning sun, the water below continues its eternal song, and the whole structure prepares for another day, another night, another cycle in the endless wheel of time that has been turning since the bridge first spanned this quiet gorge. And perhaps tonight, another traveller will find their way to this peaceful crossing, drawn by legends and stories to experience their own encounter with the magic that lives not in supernatural terror, but in the simple beauty of an ancient bridge standing quietly under the stars, connecting not just two sides of a gorge, but the human heart to the eternal rhythms of the natural world. The morning sun continues to climb higher, transforming the landscape around the Devil's Bridge with each passing minute. The stones that felt so warm and welcoming during your night vigil now begin to radiate heat back into the air, creating small thermal currents that dance above the bridge like invisible spirits. The warmth feels different from the gentle heat they held during the night, more active and energetic, speaking of the day's growing power. You pause at the far end of the bridge, reluctant to leave this place that has given you so much peace and wonder. The experience has been like a meditation lasting hours, a deep communion with forces and rhythms that exist far beyond the boundaries of human concerns. Every breath you have taken here has been cleaner and fresher than the air of cities and suburbs, every heartbeat synchronized with the natural pulse of this ancient place. The creek below sparkles brilliantly in the morning sunlight, its surface broken by small rapids that catch and scatter the light into thousands of tiny diamonds. The water that seemed so mysterious and ethereal in the darkness now reveals itself as simply what it has always been: clean mountain water flowing steadily towards some distant ocean, carrying with it the dissolved minerals and nutrients that will nourish life throughout its journey. A family of swallows darts and weaves above the water, their acrobatic flight patterns creating an aerial ballet as they hunt for insects in the warming air. Their movements are precise and purposeful, each dive and turn calculated to intercept their tiny prey with maximum efficiency. Yet there is something joyful in their flight as well, as if they are celebrating the return of light and warmth to their domain. The trees that lined your path to the bridge now stand fully revealed in the morning light, their leaves a dozen different shades of green that shift and shimmer in the gentle breeze. Each tree represents years of patient growth, seasons of flowering and fruiting, cycles of dormancy and renewal that connect them to the deep rhythms of the earth. They have witnessed countless crossings of this bridge, providing shade for summer travellers and shelter for winter storms. As you begin to walk away from the bridge, you notice details that were invisible in the darkness. Wildflowers bloom along the roadside, tiny white stars of chickweed, the delicate purple cups of wild violets, the cheerful yellow faces of dandelions that most people consider weeds, but which shine like small suns in the grass. Each flower represents the earth's endless creativity, its ability to produce beauty even in the most humble and overlooked places. The road ahead curves gently through the countryside, following the natural contours of the land in the way that old roads do. Modern highways blast through hills and span valleys in straight lines, but this path works with the landscape rather than against it, winding around obstacles and following the easiest routes through the terrain. Walking on such a road feels like a conversation with the land itself, a negotiation between human purpose and natural reality. You can hear the sounds of the day beginning around you, the distant lowing of cattle in a pasture, the crow of a rooster from a farmyard, the hum of bees already at work among the roadside flowers. These are the sounds of a rural morning, the acoustic signature of a way of life that has remained largely unchanged for generations. They speak of continuity and tradition, of human communities that still live in harmony with the natural cycles that govern all life. The air smells different now that the sun has fully risen. The cool, moist scents of night have given way to warmer fragrances, the sweet smell of grass beginning to dry in the sunshine, the dusty scent of the road warming under your feet, the green smell of leaves processing sunlight into energy through the ancient miracle of photosynthesis. These are the smells of day, as distinct from the night scents as music is from silence. A red-winged blackbird perches on a fence post beside the road, its scarlet shoulder patches brilliant in the morning sun. The bird regards you with intelligent eyes, tilting its head to get a better view of this unusual early morning traveller. Its presence connects you to the vast community of life that inhabits this rural landscape, a web of relationships and dependencies that has evolved over thousands of years. The fence itself tells a story of human interaction with this land. The wooden posts are weathered and grey, held in place by decades of frost and thaw, wind and rain. The wire between them sags slightly with age, but still serves its purpose of marking boundaries and containing livestock. This is infrastructure built to last, constructed by people who understood that fences, like bridges, must be strong enough to serve multiple generations. You pass a small cemetery nestled among oak trees beside the road, its weathered headstones marking the final resting places of people who lived and died in this valley. Some of the stones are so old that the inscriptions have been worn away by weather and time, leaving only anonymous monuments to lives once lived. Others are newer, their carved words still sharp and clear, speaking of beloved parents and children, of lives that touched the hearts of those who survived them. The cemetery feels peaceful rather than mournful, a quiet place where the dead rest in harmony with the living landscape around them. Wild roses grow among the graves, their pink blossoms adding colour and life to the scene. A few graves are decorated with fresh flowers, evidence that someone still remembers and honours these departed souls. This is death as part of the natural cycle, not as an ending but as a transformation, a return to the earth that sustains all life. The road continues to wind through the countryside, passing fields where corn is beginning to emerge in neat green rows. The young plants reach eagerly toward the sun, their leaves unfurling to capture as much light as possible for the process of growth. In a few months, these fields will be filled with tall stalks topped by heavy ears, ready for harvest. For now, they represent potential and promise, the Earth's annual commitment to abundance and renewal. A red-tailed hawk circles high overhead, riding the thermal currents that are beginning to develop as the sun heats the land unevenly. The bird's presence adds a wild element to the pastoral scene, a reminder that nature includes both the gentle and the fierce, the peaceful and the predatory. The hawk's eyesight is many times sharper than human vision, allowing it to spot movement in the grass far below from its lofty perch. You come to a small stream that runs parallel to the road for a while, its water clear and shallow as it flows over a bed of smooth pebbles. This stream may eventually join the creek that flows beneath the Devil's Bridge, becoming part of the same water system that you listen to throughout the night. The connection pleases you, linking this moment to your vigil on the bridge through the common element of flowing water. A great blue heron stands motionless in the shallows of the stream, its long neck poised to strike at any fish that ventures within range. The bird's patience is legendary. It can remain perfectly still for minutes at a time, waiting for the perfect moment to spear its prey with lightning-fast precision. Its presence speaks of the abundance of life in these waters, the complex food, webs that exist even in the smallest streams and ponds. The morning air continues to warm as the sun climbs higher, and you can feel the difference on your skin. The cool touch of night is being replaced by the gentle warmth of a late spring day, the kind of temperature that makes you want to slow down and savour the simple pleasure of being alive and present in the world. This is weather that invites contemplation and appreciation, that makes every step a conscious choice to engage with beauty and peace. A butterfly dances among the roadside flowers, its orange and black wings catching the sunlight as it moves from blossom to blossom. The creature seems almost weightless as it flies, defying gravity with apparent ease. Its life cycle represents one of nature's most remarkable transformations, from earthbound caterpillar to aerial jewel, a metamorphosis so complete that it seems more like magic than biology. You notice that the landscape is beginning to change subtly as you move away from the bridge. The hills are slightly less steep, the valleys a bit wider, the trees different species than those that grew near the crossing. This is how geography works. Gradual transitions from one ecosystem to another, changes so subtle that they can only be detected by paying careful attention to the details of the natural world. A meadowlark calls from a distant field, its liquid song carrying clearly across the open space. The bird's voice has a quality of liquid gold, pure and sweet and full of the joy that comes with territory claimed and mate attracted. This is the sound of success in the natural world, the acoustic signature of a creature that has found its place and purpose in the larger web of life. The road ahead disappears over a gentle rise, hiding whatever destinations it might lead to. But you're not anxious to reach any particular place. The journey itself has become the purpose, and each step brings new observations and insights. This is travel as meditation, movement as a way of paying attention to the world rather than simply passing through it. A stone wall runs beside the road for a while, its construction similar to that of the Devil's Bridge but on a much smaller scale. Each rock has been carefully selected and placed, fitted to its neighbours without mortar or modern binding agents. The wall speaks of the same patient craftsmanship that built the bridge, the same understanding that structures meant to last must be built with care and attention to detail. Wild strawberry plants grow in the grass beside the wall, their white flowers promising fruit that will ripen in the coming weeks. The berries will be small but intensely flavoured, nothing like the large, mild strawberries of commercial cultivation. These are the fruits that sustained indigenous peoples for thousands of years, part of a natural abundance that required no human intervention to maintain. A chipmunk darts across the road in front of you, its cheeks bulging with seeds or nuts gathered during its morning foraging expedition. The small creature moves with quick, nervous energy, always alert for the predators that might threaten its existence. Its presence adds another element to the morning's wildlife inventory, a reminder that even the smallest creatures play important roles in the ecological communities that sustain all life. The sun continues to climb higher, and you can see heat waves beginning to shimmer above the road surface. The day is warming quickly now, the cool freshness of dawn giving way to the more intense heat that will characterize the middle hours. But for now, the temperature remains comfortable, perfect for walking and observing the world around you. A killdeer calls from a nearby field, its cry designed to sound like its name. The bird is probably protecting a nest somewhere in the area, using its broken wing display to draw potential predators away from its eggs or chicks. This is parental devotion refined to an art form, instinctive behavior that puts the survival of offspring above personal safety. You pass an old barn standing alone in a field, its weathered boards grey with age and exposure to the elements. The structure leans slightly to one side as if it is tired from decades of standing guard over this rural landscape. Wild vines have begun to claim parts of the walls, softening the hard edges of human construction with the gentle curves of natural growth. The barn represents a way of life that is rapidly disappearing from the American landscape. This is architecture built for function rather than appearance, designed to shelter livestock and store hay through harsh winters and hot summers. The craftsmanship is solid and unpretentious, the work of builders who understood that beauty comes from fitness for purpose rather than decorative excess. A turkey vulture soars overhead, its wings held in a distinctive shallow V as it rides the rising air currents. The bird's presence might seem ominous to some, but vultures play a crucial ecological role as nature's clean-up crew, disposing of carrion that might otherwise spread disease. Their keen sense of smell allows them to locate their food from great distances, and their strong digestive systems can neutralize bacteria and toxins that would sicken other creatures. The road continues to wind through the countryside, occasionally crossing small streams on simple wooden bridges that lack the grandeur and mystery of the Devil's Bridge, but serve their purpose with quiet efficiency. Each crossing represents another connection between the separated parts of the landscape, another way that human ingenuity has found to overcome natural obstacles. A meadow opens up to your left, filled with tall grass that waves gently in the morning breeze. The movement creates patterns that shift and flow like water, a visual rhythm that connects to the same natural forces that shape waves on lakes and rivers. In the centre of the meadow stands a single oak tree, its broad canopy providing shade and shelter for any creature wise enough to seek it. The tree has probably stood in this meadow for decades, perhaps centuries, serving as a landmark for travellers and a gathering place for wildlife. Its trunk is thick and gnarled, speaking of years of growth and survival through droughts and floods, storms and calm seasons. The oak represents permanence and endurance, qualities that seem increasingly rare in a world of constant change and motion. A Baltimore oriole flashes through the branches of a roadside tree, its brilliant orange and black plumage unmistakable in the morning sunlight. The bird's nest will be a hanging pouch, woven from plant fibres and hair, suspended from the end of a branch where few predators can reach it. This is architecture as sophisticated as any human construction, created entirely by instinct and natural materials. The morning air carries the scent of honeysuckle from somewhere nearby, a fragrance so sweet and pervasive that it seems to define the very essence of late spring in the countryside. The vines that produce this nectar grow wild along fence rows and forest edges, their tubular flowers perfectly designed to attract the hummingbirds and long-tongued insects that serve as their pollinators. You come to a crossroads where another country lane intersects the road you have been following. A weathered signpost indicates distances to various small towns and rural communities scattered throughout these hills. The numbers on the sign speak of walking distances rather than driving times, measurements that assume travel at the pace of horses and human feet rather than internal combustion engines. The crossroads feels like a significant moment in your journey, a place where choices must be made about direction and destination. But you're not ready to leave the road that led you to the Devil's Bridge, not yet prepared to abandon the path that has brought you so much peace and insight. You continue straight ahead, following the route that has served you so well through this transformative night and morning. A red squirrel chatters angrily from a pine tree beside the road, its territorial instincts triggered by your passage through what it considers its domain. The small creature's indignation is amusing rather than threatening, a reminder that every piece of ground on earth belongs to someone, even if that someone weighs less than a pound and lives in a tree. The landscape continues to reveal new details as the morning light strengthens and your eyes adjust to daylight observation after hours of night vision. Colours that were invisible in the darkness now emerge in full brilliance. The deep green of mature leaves, the pale yellow of new grass, the rich brown of freshly turned earth in distant fields. A mourning dove calls from somewhere in the trees, its liquid notes adding a note of gentle melancholy to the morning symphony. The bird's song has inspired countless human compositions, its simple melody speaking of love and loss, of beauty and transience, of all the complex emotions that make life both precious and poignant. The road ahead curves around a small hill, and as you round the bend, you're treated to a vista that takes your breath away. The valley spreads out below you, a patchwork of fields and forests, meadows and streams, all bathed in the golden light of the climbing sun. In the distance, you can see other hills rolling away toward the horizon, each ridge softened by atmospheric haze until the farthest ones become mere suggestions of blue against the sky. This is the landscape that the Devil's Bridge serves, connecting the paths that wind through this peaceful countryside. From this elevated vantage point, you can appreciate the bridge's role in the larger geography of the region, understanding how it facilitates travel and communication across terrain that would otherwise divide communities and isolate farms and settlements. A hawk circles high above the valley, its wings motionless as it rides the thermal currents that are now developing strongly in the warming air. The bird's presence adds a wild element to the pastoral scene, a reminder that nature includes both the gentle and the fierce, the peaceful and the predatory. Its keen eyes survey the landscape below, alert for any movement that might signal the presence of prey. You begin to descend the gentle slope that leads down into the valley, your footsteps finding easy purchase on the worn surface of the old road. The path has been smoothed by countless feet and wheels over the years, creating a walking surface that feels natural and comfortable beneath your feet. This is infrastructure created by use rather than engineering, shaped by the accumulated passage of travellers over many generations. A yellow warbler flits through the branches of a willow tree beside a small creek, its bright plumage catching the sunlight as it searches for insects among the leaves. The bird's song is cheerful and energetic, a rapid series of notes that seems to celebrate the abundance of life that surrounds it. Warblers are among the most industrious of birds, consuming thousands of insects each day and playing a crucial role in controlling pest populations. The creek that runs beside the road here may be another tributary of the water system that flows beneath the Devil's Bridge, part of the complex network of streams and rivers that drain these hills and carry their waters toward distant oceans. The thought pleases you, connecting this moment to your night vigil through the common element of flowing water. A painted turtle sunbathes on a log that has fallen across the creek, its shell gleaming in the morning light. The reptile's presence speaks of the health of the aquatic ecosystem, indicating clean water and abundant food sources. Turtles are among the longest-lived creatures in these habitats, some individuals surviving for decades and witnessing changes that span human generations. The road continues to wind through the valley, following the natural contours of the land in a way that seems both efficient and beautiful. The route takes advantage of the easiest grades and most stable ground, but it also provides travellers with constantly changing views of the surrounding landscape. This is engineering that works with nature rather than against it, creating infrastructure that enhances rather than degrades the natural beauty of the area. A cardinal calls from a dense thicket beside the road, its clear whistle cutting through the morning air like a natural flute. The bird's brilliant red plumage makes it one of the most recognizable species in North America, a flash of color that can brighten even the greyest winter day. Cardinals are non-migratory, remaining in their territories year-round and providing a constant presence in the landscape. You pass a small pond surrounded by cattails and bordered by ancient willow trees whose drooping branches trail in the water. The pond reflects the blue sky and white clouds like a natural mirror, doubling the beauty of the scene. Dragonflies dart and hover above the surface, their iridescent wings catching the sunlight as they hunt for smaller insects. The pond represents another node in the complex water system that defines this landscape. During heavy rains, it will collect runoff from the surrounding hills, preventing erosion and flooding downstream. In dry periods, it will slowly release its stored water, maintaining base flows in the creek that feeds it. This is natural infrastructure at work, providing services that human engineering often attempts to replicate at great expense. A great egret stands motionless in the shallows at the pond's edge, its white plumage brilliant against the dark water. The bird's patience is legendary, capable of remaining perfectly still for long periods while waiting for fish to venture within striking range. Its presence indicates the health and abundance of the aquatic ecosystem, proof that these waters support a complex web of life. The morning air continues to warm, and you can feel the sun's growing power on your skin. The gentle coolness of dawn is giving way to the more intense heat that will characterize the day. But for now, the temperature remains perfect for walking and contemplation. This is the kind of weather that makes you grateful to be alive and aware, able to appreciate the simple pleasures of physical existence. A bobolink calls from a nearby meadow, its bubbling song one of the most distinctive sounds of grassland environments. The bird's complex melody seems to overflow with joy and energy, a celebration of territory claimed and mate attracted. Bobolinks are remarkable migrants, travelling thousands of miles each year between their breeding grounds in North America and their wintering areas in South America. The road ahead disappears around another gentle curve, continuing its meandering path through the valley. You are not anxious to see what lies ahead. The present moment contains everything you need for complete satisfaction. This is travel as meditation, movement as a way of paying deeper attention to the world rather than simply passing through it. A fence row runs along one side of the road, overgrown with wild roses and honeysuckle vines that have transformed the utilitarian boundary into a linear garden. The roses are in full bloom, their pink and white blossoms filling the air with fragrance. Wild roses have smaller flowers than their cultivated cousins, but they make up for their modest size with intense perfume and hardy constitution. You notice a small cemetery nestled among oak trees on a hillside above the road, its weathered headstones marking the final resting places of people who lived and died in this valley. The graves are well tended, with fresh flowers and carefully mowed grass indicating that someone still remembers and honours these departed souls. This is death as part of the natural cycle, integrated into the landscape rather than segregated from it. A wood thrush calls from deep in the forest that borders the cemetery, its liquid notes cascading through the morning air like a natural flute solo. This is one of the most beautiful bird songs in North America, a sound that seems to capture the very essence of woodland peace and mystery. The thrush's voice connects you to the deep forest, the realm of ancient trees and shadowed paths where wildlife thrives away from human interference. The road continues its gentle descent through the valley, occasionally crossing small streams on simple stone bridges that echo the construction techniques used for the Devil's Bridge. Each crossing represents another connection between the separated parts of the landscape, another triumph of human ingenuity over natural obstacles. But these smaller bridges lack the mystery and legend that surrounds their more famous cousin. A meadowlark perches on a fence post beside the road, its yellow breast marked with a distinctive black V. The bird's song is liquid and sweet, carrying clearly across the open fields. Meadowlarks are ground nesters, building their homes in the grass where they are vulnerable to mowing and other agricultural activities. Their presence indicates that this farming community still maintains practices that allow wildlife to coexist with human activity. The sun climbs higher, and you can see heat waves beginning to shimmer above the road surface in the distance. The day is warming quickly now, the cool freshness of dawn giving way to the more intense heat that will characterize the afternoon hours. But the morning remains comfortable, perfect for walking and observing the intricate details of the natural world. A monarch butterfly floats past on wings that seem too delicate to support its body, yet these same wings will carry it thousands of miles on its annual migration. The orange and black pattern serves as a warning to predators that the butterfly contains toxins absorbed from the milkweed plants where it spent its larval stage. This is chemical warfare refined to an art form, protection through advertisement rather than concealment. You pass a farmhouse set back from the road among mature maple trees, its white clappered siding bright in the morning sun. Smoke rises from the chimney, indicating that someone is already up and about, probably preparing breakfast for a farm family whose day begins with the dawn. The house represents continuity and tradition, a way of life that has remained largely unchanged for generations. A barn swallow darts and weaves above a nearby pasture, its acrobatic flight patterns creating an aerial ballet as it hunts for insects in the warming air. The bird's tail is deeply forked, giving it the maneuverability needed to catch flying prey with precision and grace. Swallows are among the most beneficial birds for farmers, consuming thousands of insect pests each day. The pasture itself is dotted with cattle that graze peacefully in the morning sun, their presence adding a pastoral element to the scene. The animals represent the human domestication of this landscape, the transformation of wild grasslands into productive agricultural systems. Yet they coexist harmoniously with the wild creatures that share their habitat, creating a complex community that includes both domestic and feral species. A red-winged blackbird perches on a cattail beside a roadside ditch, its scarlet shoulder patches brilliant in the morning light. The bird's territorial call echoes across the wetland, warning other males to stay away from its claimed nesting area. Red-winged blackbirds are among the most abundant species in North America, their adaptability allowing them to thrive in a wide variety of wetland habitats. The ditch itself serves an important ecological function, collecting runoff from the road and surrounding fields and allowing it to infiltrate slowly into the groundwater system. These linear wetlands provide habitat for numerous species of plants and animals while also helping to prevent flooding and erosion during heavy rains. This is green infrastructure at work, natural systems that provide valuable services without requiring expensive engineering. A killdeer calls from a nearby field, its cry designed to sound like its name. The bird is probably protecting a nest somewhere in the area, using its famous broken wing display to draw potential predators away from its eggs or chicks. This is parental devotion refined to an art form, instinctive behaviour that puts the survival of offspring above personal safety. The road ahead rises gently toward another low hill, providing you with an excuse to slow your pace and appreciate the expanding views of the valley. From each elevated vantage point, new details of the landscape become visible: distant farmsteads, hidden ponds, the serpentine courses of streams that drain the surrounding hills. This is geography revealed, gradually through the patient accumulation of perspectives and observations. A yellow warbler flits through the branches of a roadside tree, its bright plumage catching the sunlight as it searches for insects among the new leaves. The bird's song is rapid and energetic, a series of notes that seem to celebrate the abundance of life that surrounds it. Warblers are among the most active birds, rarely remaining still for more than a few seconds as they pursue their constant search for food. You notice that wildflowers are becoming more abundant along the roadside as the morning progresses and the light strengthens. Species that were invisible in the pre-dawn darkness now reveal themselves in full colour: the deep blue of wild lupine, the bright yellow of black-eyed Susans, the delicate pink of wild geraniums. Each flower represents a successful adaptation to the specific conditions of soil, moisture and light that characterize this particular microhabitat. A turkey vulture soars overhead, its wings held in the distinctive shallow V that allows it to ride air currents with minimal effort. The bird's presence might seem ominous to some, but vultures play a crucial ecological role as nature's sanitation engineers. Their keen sense of smell allows them to locate carrion from great distances, and their strong digestive systems can neutralize bacteria and toxins that would sicken other creatures. The morning air carries new scents as the sun climbs higher and begins to warm the vegetation around you. You can smell the green scent of grass processing sunlight through photosynthesis, the sweet fragrance of blooming flowers attracting their insect pollinators, the earthy smell of soil beginning to warm after the cool night. These are the aromatics of a world coming alive with the return of light and heat. A great blue heron flies overhead, its wings beating slowly and steadily as it follows some ancient flyway toward a distant feeding area. The bird's prehistoric appearance connects you to the deep, evolutionary history of this landscape, reminding you that these hills and valleys have been home to countless generations of creatures, long before humans arrived to build roads and bridges. You come to a place where the road crosses a larger stream on a simple, concrete bridge that lacks any pretense to beauty or mystery. The crossing serves its function efficiently, but it reminds you of what makes the Devil's Bridge so special. Not just its practical purpose, but its integration with the natural and cultural landscape, its ability to inspire stories and legends that connect it to the deeper currents of human imagination. The stream flows clear and full beneath the bridge, its voice a cheerful babble that speaks of spring rains and melting snows in the distant hills. This water too may eventually join the creek that flows beneath the Devil's Bridge, becoming part of the same aquatic system that provided the soundtrack for your night vigil. The connection pleases you, linking this moment to your transformative experience through the common element of flowing water. A belted kingfisher rattles its harsh call from a dead tree that overhangs the stream, the bird's presence indicating healthy fish populations in the water below. Kingfishers are expert fishers, diving headfirst into the water to catch their prey with unerring accuracy. Their nests are tunnels excavated in the banks of streams and rivers, architectural marvels created entirely by the bird's own efforts. The road continues beyond the bridge, winding through a landscape that grows more pastoral and cultivated as you move away from the wilder areas near the Devil's Bridge. Fields of corn and soybeans replace the forests and meadows, farmhouses appear more frequently, and the sounds of human activity become more noticeable. This is the transition from wild to domestic, from legend to ordinary life. Yet even in this more settled landscape, the natural world asserts itself continuously. Weeds grow in fence rows, birds nest in barn eaves, and small streams continue their ancient journeys toward the sea. The boundary between wild and tame is more fluid than it first appears, with each realm constantly influencing and interpenetrating the other. A mourning dove calls from a grove of trees beside a farmhouse, its liquid notes adding a touch of melancholy beauty to the morning air. The bird's song has inspired countless human musicians, its simple melody speaking of love and loss, of beauty and transience, of all the complex emotions that make life both precious and poignant. The sun continues to climb toward its zenith, and you can feel its growing power warming your skin and clothing. The gentle temperatures of early morning are giving way to the more intense heat that will characterize the day, but the transition is gradual and pleasant. This is the kind of weather that makes you grateful for the simple gift of physical existence, the ability to feel warmth and light, and the gentle movement of air across your skin. A barn cat watches you from its perch on a fence post, its yellow eyes alert but unafraid. The animal represents the borderland between domestic and wild, living in association with humans but maintaining its essential feline independence. Farm cats like this one provide valuable pest control services, while also serving as living bridges between the human and animal worlds. You pass a small country store with a single gas pump out front, and a hand-painted sign advertising cold drinks and local honey. The building represents a way of life that is rapidly disappearing from rural America, the small-scale commerce that once connected farming communities to the larger economy. Such stores served as social centers as well as retail outlets, places where neighbors gathered to exchange news and gossip. A chimney swift cuts through the air above the store, its rapid flight and constant chattering creating a sense of urgency and purpose. These birds spend almost their entire lives airborne, landing only to nest and roost. Their presence indicates healthy insect populations, as a single swift can consume thousands of flying insects in a single day. The road ahead curves gently to the right, following the contours of a small creek that has carved a shallow valley through the landscape. The water runs clear over a bottom of smooth stones, creating the kind of babbling brook that appears in countless poems and songs about rural life. Its voice is cheerful and constant, a liquid accompaniment to your morning walk. A green heron stands motionless beside the creek, its neck coiled like a spring ready to strike at any fish that ventures within range. The bird's patience is remarkable, capable of maintaining its hunting pose for minutes at a time. When it does strike, the movement is so fast that it seems instantaneous, the fish caught before it can react to the threat. The morning air carries the sound of a church bell in the distance, its bronze voice marking the hour for the scattered community that calls this valley home. The sound connects you to the human inhabitants of this landscape, reminding you that even in the most rural areas, people gather in communities bound together by shared beliefs and common purposes. A mockingbird begins its complex song from atop a telephone pole, cycling through an impressive repertoire of calls and melodies borrowed from other species. The bird's performance is virtuosic, demonstrating both remarkable memory and sophisticated vocal control. Some mockingbirds can imitate dozens of different species, creating concerts that change and evolve with each rendition. You notice that the roadside vegetation is becoming lusher and more diverse as the morning progresses and the light continues to strengthen. Plants that were barely visible in the pre-dawn hours now stand revealed in full detail. The compound leaves of wild roses, the heart-shaped foliage of redbud trees, the delicate fronds of ferns growing in moist, shaded areas. A painted bunting flashes through the branches of a roadside tree, its brilliant blue head and red underparts earning it the nickname nonpareil. or without equal. The bird is considered by many to be the most beautiful in North America, a living jewel that seems too colourful to be real. Male painted buntings are territorial and aggressive despite their small size, willing to fight fiercely to defend their nesting areas. The landscape around you continues to reveal new details as your eyes adjust to daylight observation after hours of darkness. Textures that were invisible at night now emerge in sharp relief. The rough bark of oak trees, the smooth leaves of maples, the delicate patterns of lichen growing on stone walls and fence posts. A box turtle crosses the road slowly ahead of you, its domed shell protecting it from most predators, but making rapid movement impossible. You pause to watch the ancient reptile make its deliberate progress, appreciating its unhurried approach to life. Box turtles can live for more than a century, witnessing changes in the landscape that span multiple human generations. The road continues to meander through the valley, occasionally climbing gentle hills that provide expanded views of the surrounding countryside. From each elevated vantage point you can see further into the distance, appreciating the rolling topography that characterizes this region. The hills are old and worn, softened by millions of years of erosion, into the gentle contours that make this landscape so pleasing to the human eye. A indigo bunting calls from a thicket beside the road, its metallic notes ringing clearly in the morning air. The male's deep blue plumage appears almost electric in the bright sunlight, a colour so intense it seems artificial. Like many songbirds, indigo buntings are declining in numbers due to habitat loss and fragmentation, making each encounter with these beautiful creatures increasingly precious. The morning sun continues to climb higher, and you can see that the day is going to be warm and bright, perfect for the kind of unhurried exploration you have been enjoying since leaving the Devil's Bridge. The experience of spending the night on that ancient crossing has changed your perspective on time and travel, making you more aware of the journey itself rather than any particular destination. A red-eyed vireo calls persistently from the canopy of a large oak tree, its simple song repeated endlessly as it establishes territory and attracts a mate. The bird's name comes from its distinctive red iris, visible only at close range. Red-eyed vireos are among the most abundant forest birds in eastern North America, though their preference for staying high in the tree canopy makes them more often heard than seen. You pass a small pond created by a beaver dam, the industrious rodents having transformed a simple stream into a complex aquatic habitat. The dam represents one of the most impressive examples of animal engineering, a structure that rivals human construction in its sophistication and durability. The pond created by the dam provides habitat for numerous species, while also helping to prevent flooding and erosion downstream. A wood duck hen leads her ducklings across the pond, the young birds following their mother in a perfect line. Wood ducks are among the most beautiful waterfowl in North America, the males especially resplendent in their breeding plumage. These birds nest in tree cavities, an unusual habit among ducks that requires them to be excellent climbers as well as swimmers. The road curves away from the pond and begins to climb toward another low ridge, the gentle grade making the ascent comfortable and pleasant. As you gain elevation, new vistas open up behind you, allowing you to see the path you have travelled stretching back toward the hills where the Devil's Bridge spans its ancient crossing. A scarlet tanager calls from. High in the forest canopy, its hoarse note quite different from its spectacular appearance. The male's brilliant red body and black wings make it one of the most striking birds in North America, though its preference for staying high in the trees means it is more often glimpsed than clearly seen. Tanagers feed primarily on insects, playing an important role in forest pest control. The morning air is warming noticeably now, and you can feel the sun's growing intensity on your exposed skin. The cool freshness of dawn is giving way to the more robust heat of mid-morning, though the temperature remains comfortable for walking. This is the daily transition from the gentle temperatures of night to the more energetic warmth of day, a cycle that has been repeating for billions of years. The eastern bluebird perches on a fence post beside a pasture, its azure wings and russet breast brilliant in the morning sunlight. Bluebirds are cavity nesters that depend on old trees with natural hollows or nest boxes provided by human conservationists. Their populations declined dramatically in the mid-20th century, but have recovered thanks to dedicated efforts to provide suitable nesting sites. The pasture where the bluebird hunts is dotted with wildflowers that have escaped cultivation and established themselves in the grassland. Black-eyed Susans nod in the gentle breeze, their golden petals surrounding dark centres that will eventually produce seeds for the next generation. These flowers represent the resilience and adaptability of plant life, the ability to colonize new habitats and create beauty wherever conditions allow. A cattle egret walks among the grazing cows, its white plumage stark against the green grass. The bird feeds on insects disturbed by the cattle's movement, an example of the commensal relationships that exist throughout the natural world. Originally from Africa, cattle egrets followed the expansion of domestic livestock around the globe, demonstrating the remarkable adaptability that characterizes successful species. The road ahead disappears over the crest of the hill, hiding whatever lies beyond from your current vantage point. But you're not impatient to see what comes next. The present moment contains sufficient beauty and interest to satisfy your curiosity. This is traveller's contemplation, movement as a way of deepening your engagement with the world rather than escaping from it. And so you continue walking along the country road, carrying with you the peace and insight gained from your night on the Devil's Bridge. The experience has changed you in subtle but fundamental ways, connecting you to rhythms and truths that exist far beyond the boundaries of ordinary concerns and activities. The bridge itself remains behind you now, ready to serve whatever travellers the day may bring, but its gifts travel with you as you move deeper into the morning and whatever adventures await along this peaceful path through the countryside.